My name is Harper. I'm 29. And 3 weeks ago, my own mother stood in my kitchen and told me my beach house wasn't really mine. Let that sink in for a second. Not, we'd love to use it. Not, can we borrow it? She said, and I quote, Harper, be reasonable. It's not like you need all this space. The house is in Malibu, $3.2 million, glass walls, a duck that hangs right over the sand. The kind of place people screenshot and send to their group chat with a crying, laughing emoji because it doesn't feel real. I didn't inherit it. I didn't marry into it. I built a skincare brand from my apartment bathroom starting at 23. Sold 60% of it 2 years ago for enough zeros that my accountant asked if I wanted to sit down before he told me the number. I bought that house in cash. My name, my signature, my closing documents. And my parents wanted to hand the keys to my brother Tyler for his wedding, not rent it, not ask nicely, and offered to pay for the cleanup crew. Take it. My mother had already told Thewding Planner, the venue is locked in. My father had already sent out a group text to relatives with photos of my living room captioned, Tyler and Brooke's big day location. People I hadn't spoken to in years were liking a picture of my kitchen island. I found out from my aunt, not my mother. My aunt who texted me so excited for the beach wedding. Like I already knew. Here's the part that still makes my stomach drop when I think about it. When I called my mom confused, thinking there had to be some mix-up, she didn't apologize. She got defensive. She said family shares. She said I was being selfish for even hesitating, that Tyler had waited his whole life for this, that I should be grateful I had something worth offering. Grateful for my own house. I said no politely at first, then less politely when my father called me difficult for the third time in one conversation. What happened after that call is the part nobody in my family saw coming, because they forgot about one person who'd been quietly watching this whole thing unfold from the beginning. My grandfather, 81 years old, sharp as a tack, and the only person in that family who had never once asked me for anything. He called me that same night. Just one sentence. Harper, don't sign anything and don't tell your parents I called. I had no idea what he meant. I had no idea what he was about to do. I didn't sleep that night. I kept replaying my grandfather's voice, calm, steady, almost amused, like a man who already knew how this story ended. Grandpa Walt built a construction company from nothing back in the 70s. Poured concrete with his own hands before he ever poured a foundation for a business. My parents always treated him like a sweet old man who showed up at holidays with peppermints in his coat pocket. What they conveniently forgot is that Walt still owned the land under 3 of my father's properties, including the house my parents lived in. My father never bought it outright. He'd been getting around to it for 11 years. 2 days after his call, my parents showed up at my place unannounced. My mother came in soft, syrupy, calling me sweetheart for the first time in probably a decade. My father came in loud, talking about legacy, about family, about how a house is just a house, Harper, but a wedding only happens once. I told them again. That's when my mother said the thing I don't think I'll ever forget. She said, "You've always been jealous of Tyler getting the attention. This is your chance to finally do something that matters. Jealous of my own brother's wedding." As if building a multi-million-dollar company from a bathroom sink didn't matter unless it came wrapped in a bow for someone else. My father followed that up by threatening to cut me off from family events if I didn't come around. As if I needed an invitation to Thanksgiving more than I needed my own front door. I called my grandfather that night, shaking, furious, asking what he wanted me to do. He just laughed. A real laugh, not a mean one. He said, "Harper, I've been waiting 40 years for your father to finally show me who he really is. Now I know. Sit tight." 3 days later, my father got a letter. Not from me, from Walt's lawyer. I found out what was in it a week after that. And when I did, my hands were literally shaking as I read the screenshot my cousins sent me. If you've ever had family try to guilt trip you out of something you earned, hit subscribe right now, because what my grandfather did next is the most satisfying thing I've ever watched a grown man's face turn white over. The letter gave my father 30 days. 30 days to vacate the property he'd been living in rent-free for over a decade. Unless he did exactly one thing, apologize to me in writing and publicly walk back every word he'd said about my house. My father called Walt screaming. Walt didn't even raise his voice back. He said 4 words that ended the argument completely. Ask Harper about consequences. My father did not apologize. That's the part that still gets me. He had 30 days, a clear way out, and instead he chose to fight it. He hired a lawyer, spent money he apparently didn't have trying to prove some verbal agreement existed about the land, some understanding between him and Walt from years back. Word for word, his lawyer's letter called it a family arrangement based on trust. Walt's response came back in 2 lines. He'd kept every receipt, every tax document. Every year, my father paid exactly 0 toward that property in writing filed neatly in a folder labeled with my father's name. Turns out my grandfather was never the sweet old man handing out peppermints. He was a man who documented everything and said nothing for 40 years, waiting to see if it would ever matter. My mother tried a different angle. She showed up at my office this time, professional Harper territory, thinking maybe I'd cave if she caught me somewhere polished and quiet. She sat across from my desk and said the wedding invitations had already gone out listing the venue, that people would ask questions, that I was about to embarrass this family in front of everyone we knew. I asked her one question back. Did she ever even once consider asking me first instead of announcing it to a group chat? She didn't answer that. He just said Tyler was devastated. Tyler, by the way, never once called me himself, not before the venue got announced, not after I said no, not during any of this. My own brother, the groom, let our parents fight his battle while he stayed silent in the group chat, liking every message that painted me as the villain. That silence told me more than anything my parents said. 2 weeks into the 30 days, Tyler finally texted. Not an apology, a question. Can we just talk about the house like adults? I said yes. I actually wanted to hear him out. Some small part of me was still hoping my brother would surprise me. We met at a coffee shop near my office. He looked tired, older than 26 should look, and for the first 10 minutes, it actually felt like progress. He admitted the venue announcement was messed up. Admitted Mom and Dad steamrolled the whole thing without asking me. Then he said the sentence that changed everything. If you think you already know where this story is going, comment not yet and subscribe, because what Tyler asked me for next is the real twist and it's not what you're expecting. He looked me dead in the eye and said, "So, can I still have it just for the day? I'll even pay for a cleaning crew this time." He wasn't sorry the wedding got planned around my house without asking me. He was sorry it got him in trouble. I looked at Tyler for a long moment before I answered him. 29 years of being his big sister flashed through my head. Driving him to soccer practice, covering for him when he snuck out in high school, cheering the loudest when he got engaged. And here he was sitting across from me, only sorry that getting caught cost him something. I told him no, calmly this time. No shaking, no anger, just done. He stood up so fast his chair scraped the floor, called me selfish one last time, and walked out without paying for his coffee. Some things really don't change. The 30 days ran out on a Tuesday. My father never apologized, never walked back a single word. I think some part of him actually believed Walt was bluffing. That blood was thicker than a signed letter. That family always finds a way to smooth things over before anything real happens. He was wrong. Walt didn't evict them cry. He wasn't that kind of man. He gave them 90 extra days to find somewhere else quietly without a single public word about why. But he did do one thing that mattered more than any lawsuit ever could. At Thanksgiving, in front of the entire family, he stood up, tapped his glass, and said he wanted to say something about pride. He talked about building his company from nothing, about watching people take and call it love. And then he looked directly at my parents and said, the one sentence that ended the conversation forever. The only person in this family who ever built anything with her own 2 hands is sitting right there, and you tried to take it from her without even asking. Nobody said a word. My mother stared at her plate. My father left the table. The wedding happened eventually at a rented venue 40 minutes inland. No ocean view, no glass walls, no group chat photos of my kitchen island. Just Tyler, Brooke, and a version of the day that was actually theirs, paid for with their own money for once. I didn't go. Not out of spite. I just realized that some rooms you don't owe your presence to anymore. My house still sits right where it's always been. Glass walls catching the sunset every single night exactly the way I built it for me by me on my own terms. Walt comes over most Sundays now. We sit on that deck he helped me protect, and he tells me I remind him of himself 40 years ago. I think that might be the nicest thing anyone's ever said to me. If you believe people should never have to apologize for protecting what they built, hit subscribe. You clearly know Ariel won when you see the end.